Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. There's an introduction to this play, you'll see. Um, I want to explain to you that when writing a play, there are certain incidents that come up, and I never know which of those is going to create the muse to bang me on the head and said, to write about a play. I had read somewhere that there was a rest home. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? There was a rest home for theater people in Manhattan. And I said, God, I would love to go in there. It's going to be fascinating. I could imagine if you get these divas and these actors and these directors. So I started thinking about that. And it developed into curtain calls at the Encore rest home. So now the characters you're going to see, one is named Bernice and one is named Rose and one is named Celia. Now where I get those names, they're sitting in the front row right here. These are my cousins, okay? So they're at a very delicate age. I think we're close to 90 for Babe. Rose is only 95. Celia's 101, and she's here. Okay, so I think the secret to longevity, and my most recent play that I've just finished and I've just published is called "Leave Them Laughing," and I'm convinced that laughter and humor go a long way in healthy aging. So, and they're certainly witness to that. But I'll stop talking now. We'll start the production and these extremely talented cast. I hope you enjoy the play. Thank you. Before I begin sharing with you my thoughts about this play, I want to thank you for being here and sincerely hope you find it entertaining. The actor Russell Johnson once said, "Old actors never die. They don't even fade away. They're always available." Therefore, according to that definition, in writing this play, I've abandoned the generally accepted definition of retirement, which is to leave one's work or occupation, and replaced it with the definition that retirement means withdrawal. Much in the sense that we say a jury retires to reach a verdict. And as to what verdict each of the characters in this play reach, I'm certain you will discover through the truly gifted talent of the actors that have been cast to perform this work for you. Once more, I want to thank you for attending this performance of Curtain Calls at the Encore Rest Home. Please.
Come in.
Hello.
I'm sorry. You must be looking for the admissions office. It's down the hall to the right.
No, I'm looking for Bernice Solomon.
That's me. How can I help you?
Oh, good morning. We spoke on the phone yesterday. I replied to your ad for a social activities director, and you told me to come here to be interviewed today.
Really? I mean, can you, we're looking for someone to create and participate in exercise and dance lessons and theatrical arts. And by that, I mean acting and dance lessons.
No. Oh, I know. You are probably expecting someone younger. By looking at me, you'd think I'm the last person who would apply for the job. But as I told you on the phone, I am very qualified. However, if this place hiring policy discriminates against age and handicaps, I think I will withdraw my application.
I'll have you know the Encore Rest Home does not discriminate. I was hired last year and I'm 68.
Ah, I see. Well, that's good to know. Look, all I am asking is that you give me a shot. And if, for any reason, you or the residents are disappointed, just let me know and I'll disappear. No hard feelings.
That seems fair. We'll begin with a 6-month trial basis, and if at the end of that time we are both satisfied, we can renegotiate terms.
Agreed. I know that because most of your residents have retired from some aspect of entertainment field. Theatrical arts must be of interest to many of them. I know you have a stage here. Have any of your residents expressed an interest in stage performance?
Well, as of now, there are only 2, and both have appeared in Broadway productions. Rose is a former dancer, and Celia, a retired actress. Both are Tony Award winners. Unfortunately, both have moderate and, in some areas, severe memory loss. But I have to make you aware that Celia, for some unknown reason, does not like to socialize with Rose, while Rose, on the other hand, goes out of her way to be friendly with Celia. I've tried several times to get Celia to talk about it, but every time I even broach the subject, she finds some way to change it.
That's very interesting. What else can you tell me about them?
Well, Celia is the consummate actress, poised, well-groomed, always appears as if she's ready to walk out on stage.
Wonderful. Nothing better than working with a motivated student. What about Rose?
Rose, well, age has toned her down, but in her mind, she can still be in stockings and stilettos, dancing in some Broadway musical hit. As I told you, she, as well as Celia, are getting increasingly forgetful, and we are trying to somehow slow down the progress of their dementia.
How can you slow that process down?
Well, it seems some of the latest studies have shown that of all the activities available to depressed and memory-challenged patients, exercise such as dancing and memorizing lines for a play have proven to be very effective.
I'm sure that's true. I know that when I'm dancing, all my problems disappear. I focus only on my partner and the music. The same is true when I am directing or acting. It's all about the theatrical production, nothing else.
What about your cane? Does that present a problem?
My cane? Oh, you mean this? This is not a cane, it's a trophy.
What kind of a trophy?
It's a dancing stick, but not any dancing stick. It once belonged to Fred Astaire. It was given to my brother by Fred's sister Adele in recognition of his contributions to theater choreography. He was a brilliant teacher. He taught me so much, not only about dance, but also about directing and acting. It became his trademark. He always had it with him. He gave him the dancing stick to me when he passed, and I take it wherever I go.
Ooh, that certainly is better than any resume. I am impressed.
What about you?
What about me?
Do you like to dance?
You mean, did I like to dance? The answer is yes, but my accident took that away from me.
Would you like to dance again?
Don't you think that's an insensitive question?
Not at all. You strike me as a very determined woman. You obviously not let your handicap prevent you from becoming the administrator of this facility. So why let it get in the way of enjoying dancing again?
That is more fantasy than reality, and I haven't time for fantasy. All I want from you is to instruct the residents. My handicap is not on your agenda. Please respect that.
Oh, I do. I only mean to try and...
All I'm hiring you to do is help our residents. Are we in agreement?
Yes. But if you listen to me, we could be more than in agreement. We could be in step.
In step? I mean, there you go again. What is wrong with you? Are you purposely trying to be cruel?
Oh, damn it. I'm not being cruel. You're the one being cruel, needlessly cruel to yourself. I volunteered for years for the Handicapped Dancers organization. I can get you dancing again. I've helped many people back to enjoying dance again. Wouldn't you like that?
Of course, but I just never... Maybe we can talk about that later. But for now, let's just stay focused on your job.
Okay. Now that I know the position is mine, I'd like to discuss my remuneration.
Would you like to get paid by the hour or by the session?
Neither. In lieu of money, I want room and board.
You want to live here?
Yes?
Where are you living now?
I'd rather not say. Let's just agree that as long as we both are satisfied with my job performance, I can remain in residence here. All I require is a small room with a private bath, and I'll eat whatever is being served for the others. I'm sure you always have at least one meal left over from each food service. I know you have vacancies because I read your website.
That proposition might work. It's true that we are not full and our finances are stretched to the limit, but you'll have to agree to move out of the home if we do fill up.
Agreed. Oh, also, I require a lock on my door and a small refrigerator in my room.
Well, I respect the desire for privacy, but why the refrigerator? You can have access to the ones in the kitchen.
Those requirements are not negotiable.
Okay, the lock is easy, and I'm sure I've seen a small fridge somewhere in the basement. It used to belong to a paranoid diabetic resident who insisted on keeping her insulin in her room. I can have this written up for you tomorrow, I should say, tomorrow.
I planned on moving in today. In fact, I asked my nephew, who has a small landscaping business and a small truck, to move my few belongings. I told him to be here no later than 5 p.m., which I believe to be the time you serve dinner. Tonight, it's shepherd's pie, one of my favorites.
That was a bit presumptuous, don't you think?
Let's just say I know what I have to offer, and I needed to know what you had to offer, so I did my homework thoroughly.
I'll say you did your homework thoroughly. Not only knowing the meal times, but also the menus. What else did you learn?
I learned enough to know that the Encore had what I was looking for, so here I am.
Didn't you have to give advance notice about leaving where you are living now?
Before we go any further, let's make one thing very clear. No personal questions. The past is gone. The present is our venue. Let's make the most of it. Agreed?
I hope I'm not going to regret this.
I have a couple of other requirements.
I'm listening.
First of all, I am a very private person. So in between lessons, I am not to be disturbed, and I want to make my meals in my room.
That's fine.
Secondly, in order to realize the full potential of my students, I have to assess their motivation and capabilities. And in order to do that, I have to be free to meet with them other than during the lessons.
Okay, as long as you do so here in this room between regularly scheduled activities. You can start with Rose and Celia.
Rose Samuels and Celia Harding.
I never told you their last names.
I told you. I did my homework. I happen to know how talented they are. They are both gifted.
but the names of the residents and certainly their personal information is strictly confidential and only available to the immediate family, and then only after proper identification.
That would be true in a perfect world, but not in the present world. Ask any computer geek.
You don't strike me as a computer geek.
I didn't strike you as a potential dance instructor either. But to tell you the truth, I didn't have to be an MIT graduate to discover the password to access your files.
What do you mean? That password is unique. I created it myself.
Exactly. And that is how I discovered it. The ERHP was a no-brainer, but I wasn't able to complete the password until I went online, saw your name, Bernice Solomon. So all I did was add the BS to the other letters, and there it was. I typed in the initials for Encore, Rest Home, password, Bernice Solomon, ERHPBS, and suddenly all your files were there for me to read.
Oh, wait, you mean you had access to all the personal files of the residents and even the staff?
Yes, all of the staff, past and present.
Isn't there a law against that?
I did not break any laws. I was just seeking as much information as I could about my future place of employment. I kept that information to myself. And more than that, my actions allowed me to benefit my future employer by pointing out the vulnerability of their privacy security. So, if you give me my key, I'll go into my room and get cleaned up. And please have Rose and Celia come here for me to meet with them, one at a time.
Here you go.
Thank you.
No. Oop. Please send Celia Harding to the recreation room. Good afternoon, Celia. How is your day going?
Actually, quite disappointing. I've been asked to read a script for a new Broadway play, but I'm afraid it's just not for me. Perhaps a less experienced actress? May I ask why I have been asked to come here?
I have someone I'd like you to meet. He is going to join our staff, and he's asked to be introduced to you.
He has most likely read the rave reviews in Variety of my last Broadway success. I hope he won't be one of those intrusive fans.
Oh, perfect timing, Robert. I would like you to meet Celia Harding. Celia, this is Robert. He will be working with us.
Welcome, Robert. You look vaguely familiar, but then I have met so many fans. In the past, I can't be certain.
Celia, this is a pleasure. And yes, we did meet some years back.
One of my brief encounters. With all due respect to dear Noel Coward.
Ooh, too brief an encounter. But now, I hope we will have the opportunity to get to know one another and become friends.
Your voice also sounds familiar.
This is good news. I can't believe you two have met. What a coincidence.
I don't believe in coincidences.
Then perhaps it's destiny. So let's make the most of it and enjoy working together. I've written a new play, and I would love to do a live stage reading, and you would be perfect as one of the two characters in the play.
You have my interest. Of course, you understand I get dozens of new scripts sent to me all the time. But when a playwright himself presents me with his work, my interest is piqued. Tell me more about your play.
I hate to interrupt, but I have to leave. But please continue and we'll catch up later. But Robert, please see that Celia goes back to her room for 3 o'clock for her medication.
I want to approach this play differently than any other I have read and hopefully any other you have acted in.
That sounds like quite a challenge. Go on.
I want to build your character around you. Instead of you becoming the character, I want the character to become you.
I have to think about that because I think I like me best when I am someone else, making their mistakes, apologizing for their transgressions, crying for their grief, and enjoying their pleasures.
Why do you think that is?
Probably because I can walk away from their pain, unlike my own. When the play ends, so does their guilt, unlike my own. When I remove my makeup and I dab the last of the character's tears, and often my tears begin.
Come on, there must be some laughter.
I've never played a comedic role, although the sharp wit of some of my lines has the audience laughing.
Do you remember any of them?
Yes, I remember one of my characters had to undergo an abortion, and I quoted Dorothy Parker when she said, "That's what I get for putting all my eggs in one bastard."
Yeah, that is hysterical. Dorothy Parker had a brilliant sense of wit. My favorite quote is when she walked into a Manhattan socialite party, looked around the room and said, "If every woman in this place were laid end to end, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I would love to be able to write like that in one of my plays."
But when you write, you must keep in mind what she also said about wit. There's a hell of a distance between wisecracking and wit. Wit has truth in it. Wisecracking is simply calisthenics with words.
Believe me, I am aware of that. I wouldn't even attempt to match her genius. But she was right about the significance of truth in writing. And I suppose that's what I am attempting to highlight here, the true nature of my character. In this case, you.
There's also a hell of a lot of truth in what else Dorothy said about abortion.
What do you mean?
Abortion is unique in that it sometimes adds more to the woman than it removes.
What do you mean?
Granted, it rids the woman of a growing child, but in many cases, it impregnates her with growing guilt, the kind of guilt that is difficult to live with.
But is more difficult than living with an unwanted child?
There is no answer to that question, Richard.
My name is Robert.
Richard, Robert, whatever your name is. I have no time for questions without answers. I am only interested in answers to the questions I have about the new play proposal of yours. For instance, what's the setting of the play? Describe my character. And the second character in the play, are we talking drama, romance, comedy, mystery?
It begins during the cocktail hour of the mercy meal for the deceased husband of one of the leading ladies, and she was also the jilted lover of the second. They are meeting for the very first time.
Well, it's certainly different from anything I can recall reading. But then again, my recall is too sporadic to rely on. But from what little you've told me, my advice to you is you better write some creative dialogue. Otherwise, the funeral you're writing about will be your play.
Exactly. And I need you, a brilliant actress, to deliver that dialogue. When the play's complete, I plan on creating elements of drama, comedy, mystery, and even romance.
Like real life.
Absolutely. It is still very much a work in progress, and I am asking for your help, your expertise.
And who is playing opposite me?
I haven't cast her yet, but she will be coming here shortly. But until I do, I will read her lines.
Writer, director, and actor? Do you do windows also?
Only if I'm about to jump out of one of them.
I've contemplated that too.
I hope you're not serious. I was just joking.
Poor topic for jokes. I hope your dialogue is in better taste. Otherwise, your script is what will be jumping out the window.
And deservedly so. I apologize. It's just that your comment caught me off guard. You were serious about suicide, weren't you?
Yes. There I was dead serious. Pun intended. but I'm over that now.
Did you seek psychiatric help?
Yes, but I came away from that with the same reaction Samuel Golden had when he said, anyone who goes to a psychiatrist ought to have his head examined.
Then where did you get help?
I got a call from the chairman of the Broadway League after I was awarded my first Tony, and he asked me to give a master class to a group of young actors.
So you had to focus your thoughts on what you taught.
It was not what I taught as much as what I learned.
How so?
In the innocent enthusiasm of aspiring actors somehow rejuvenated me and reminded me to smile and get through even the most difficult moments.
When did you stop teaching?
The same time I stopped acting, when I couldn't remember my lines. I was playing Mary Tyrone in A Long Day's Journey into Night. We were having a long run on Broadway, and one evening I started Mary's famous final speech. Then, in the spring, something happened to me. And I couldn't remember the rest of it, which was, yes, I remember, I fell in love with James Tyrone and was so happy for me.
What happened?
Well, when the crew saw I was floundering, they dropped the curtain. That was the final performance for the play and me.
Celia, it's time for your meds. You and Robert can chat later this afternoon.
Sorry, time for my exit, Richard.
It's been a pleasure, and my name is Robert.
Whatever your name is, it's been interesting. And speaking of your name, you never told me the name of the other leading lady who's coming to audition.
A former Broadway dancer named Rose Samuels. She lives here too. Do you know her? In fact, she should be coming here very soon.
Sorry, I've never heard of her, and I have to leave now.
Oh, what a surprise! Well, it's been so long. Where have you been?
What did I tell you? Hello, Rose. How are you doing today?
Well, I was feeling wonderful until I got into the elevator to come here. Well, there was a gentleman in the elevator with me, and I tried to be polite and friendly to him, and so I said, TGIF. And he said to me, SHIT. Oh, well, I thought perhaps he didn't understand what I said, so I repeated, TGIF. Well, then he said to me, SHIT, which means, sorry, honey, it's Thursday.
Rose, it is Thursday, but that was very rude of him. Never mind. I want to introduce you to Robert.
Oh, a gentleman caller. Well, if I had known, I would have worn something other than this old thing.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Rose. I have to say you look wonderful. There is absolutely no need to make any changes in your attire. It is an excellent taste.
Oh, you've always said the nicest things to me, Richard.
Not Richard. His name is Robert.
Robert. Well, what does she know? Come on, let's show her who you are. Ready? Da 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 da. Oh, just like the old days. Oh dear. Well, I can't go on without the proper music and my dancing shoes, of course.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'll be fine.
I have to leave now, but I'm sure you two have a lot to talk about.
Oh my. Well.
Excellent suggestion. Here, take this for support.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll be back in a little while to take you to your room, Rose. In the meantime, enjoy each other's company.
Oh, yes. Oh, dear. Well, we always did enjoy each other's company, didn't we, Richard?
My name is Robert. Was Richard the name of someone you danced with on stage?
Richard was my choreographer, my mentor, my friend, and on occasion, my dance partner. Let's just say we were very close.
I danced with you in a Broadway preview of Chorus Line.
I do remember Chorus Line. That preview was my last performance. Thank God it was still in previews. I was in the middle of a routine that I had performed so many times, and suddenly I completely forgot the dance steps. No one realized, of course, because my dance partner, he got me through it. Was that you? You said you danced with me. Oh, please forgive me for not remembering. I don't know what's happening to me. My memories are just bits and pieces. They often don't fit together. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm being a terrible hostess. Can I get you some tea or coffee? I suppose it's too early for cocktails. Do you like martinis?
It is too early, but yes, I love martinis.
I love martinis. 2 at the most. 3, I'm under the table, and 4, I'm under the host. How come I can remember that? But I can't remember who said it, and I can't remember how I got into this room, and oh gosh, why am I even here?
You're here because I've just joined the Encore staff, and I am hoping to put on a play I have written. And I want you to be one of the 2 leading ladies.
Oh, well, that sounds exciting. Oh, I hope there aren't too many dance routines. For some reason, I'm not as supple as I once was. Oh dear, remind me, did we dance well together?
We always got a standing ovation. In fact, we were nominated for a Tony together.
Were we ever more than just a dance duo?
For a while, yes. We were very close.
Oh, well, then what happened?
That's not important now. What's important now is that we are together again. But because this is still a work in progress, I have no choreography in mind. It's more of a memory play.
Oh, memory. Well, that's another thing that I'm not so supple with. But if the other character is a young, handsome man, I am supple enough for some intense love scenes and even open to participating in a few undress rehearsals.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The second character is another retired Broadway star, Celia Harding.
Oh, Celia! Well, she's a brilliant actor. I haven't seen her in ages. Do you know that at one time we were appearing in different shows on Broadway at the same time? We even shared the stage at the Tony Awards that year.
That is not all you 2 have shared.
Well, you may be right, but nothing comes to mind. And if it does, it doesn't remain there for long. I hope to be able to remember my lines, and I do hope that they are in very large print.
Don't worry about that. We'll take it very slowly. We are not in a hurry. Our aim will be to produce a piece of quality theater.
Oh, well, with Celia and I starring, that will be guaranteed. Do you know where she and Richard are living nowadays?
I'm afraid that Richard is no longer with us. He passed a short while ago. He fell on his head. Celia is now living here.
Oh, here? Well, she must have just moved in. Well, how marvelous. I'm sure she'll call me once she's settled in. I need to explain so many things. How did you get this? I remember seeing it, this beautiful silver handle.
It was Richard's. He gave it to me. He was my brother.
Oh, there are so many things I can no longer remember, but I do remember Richard teaching me how important the proper attitude was for dance. He said, when you begin a dance, sometimes it feels like you're taking a leap off into the dark, and a positive attitude will make all the difference between failing and flying.
Rose, it's time for your physical therapy. I'm sure you can come back later and continue with Robert.
Perfect timing. I'm going to teach Bernice handicapped dance routine. And Rose was just telling me how important a positive attitude is for dancing, Bernice. So your instructor, and I insist you drop by her room and learn what she has to say about that before our meeting tonight.
Well, I look forward to that. And I look forward to continuing with you, Robert. It is Robert, right? Well, anyway, I'll change it to something more comfortable. And I'll make sure Bernice is dressed properly for her performance also.
I'll see you soon. How's my new dance partner?
Well, to tell you the truth, I have mixed feelings, but I'm willing to try it.
After Rose gets through with you, even Ginger Rogers would be envious.
I came to tell you that I was just reviewing both Celia and Rose's admissions applications because I vaguely remembered they had something in common. But I couldn't remember what it was, and then I saw that all the bills are being paid by the Nalick Foundation, and that is your last name. The Richard Nalick Foundation, to be specific. That is your brother's foundation, right?
Yes, Richard was married to Celia, and he loved her very much, but then fell in love with Rose. When he was directing and choreographing a role for her, he left Celia, but never divorced her. When Rose's memory began to fail, he admitted that to her that although she never forgave him for leaving her, Celia and he stayed in contact. And when she started to get forgetful and reached a point where she could not take care of herself, he also admitted her to the Encore. And in his will, he left the entire estate to take care of both of them.
And what did he leave you?
Just enough to allow me to continue living at his house, provided I make sure that both ladies were properly taken care of and allocated funds were used properly.
He must have left quite a considerable estate because both these ladies have the highest level of care and all the amenities that we provide. And that is very costly.
Yes. Richard made a lot of money on the long-run Broadway productions of his plays and musicals, also the residuals of reruns.
Now, what happens if either Celia and or Rose pass away?
Whoever dies first, the money goes to the second. And when they both pass away, whatever remains of the estate goes to me. Not because he wanted that, but because the law says it passes to the nearest relative.
What happened between you two?
Well, Richard and I had a falling out because I was living with Rose when the two of them started their affair, and she left me for him. I was terribly hurt, and I wanted nothing to do with him.
I thought you said you were taking care of him.
He developed Parkinson's, and he hired me to take care of him, which I did for financial necessity. I was broke.
So it wasn't out of brotherly love.
Hardly.
How severe was his Parkinson's?
It seemed to accelerate quite quickly, but my major problem was not helping him out with Parkinson's. It was trying to prevent him from overdosing on the levodopa, which is the medicine for Parkinson's.
That could have terrible side effects. I know, because I was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I take the same medication. It's right here. If a patient overdoses, there are very serious side effects.
Absolutely. And it was those side effects that would clue me into the fact that he had managed to squirrel away extra pills.
But how could he get hold of them if you were taking care of him?
Besides myself, he hired nurses who, because he was always a master of manipulating people with his money, would supply him with medications, which he would take by dissolving it in his nightly martini. In the end, he took enough to accomplish his goal,
What goal was that?
suicide. It's a known fact that 8% of suicides are due to overdose of Parkinson's medication, and he contributed to that statistic.
Okay. Now, I ran into Rose a short while ago, and she was crying, and I asked her why, and she told me that Richard had fallen and hit his head.
Well, that's the story I tell everyone, but the good thing is that she did remember that I told her that.
Yes, but who knows for how long. Tell me, how did you feel about Rose when she left you for Richard?
I felt hurt. I felt betrayed. I was very bitter, very angry.
Well, how do you feel about her now? Did seeing her again maybe rekindle how you felt about her? Are you able to forgive her?
I knew that she was also one of Richard's victims, but she was a willing victim, and that's the part I have a hard time forgiving.
Have you told Celia about how Richard died?
She hasn't asked.
Both of them will be coming down soon, and I don't know what you said to them, but you certainly inspired them to go through their wardrobes, which I'm sure will be evident once they arrive.
Great! If I can resurrect even a small portion of their wonderful talent, I'll be thrilled. I'll get us some martinis.
Martinis? I don't know if I told you, but state law absolutely forbids any personal medications, tobacco, or alcohol on the premises, and they come around and inspect without prior notifications. So please respect that, because our license will be in jeopardy if those rules are violated.
You have nothing to worry about. Richard, Celia, and Rose only drank martinis. So in the refrigerator that I requested, I have a bottle of some non-alcoholic, cocktail mix.
I see no harm in that. I'll leave now, and good luck.
Not so fast. You and I have some unfinished business. I've been telling you everything about me, but you haven't told me anything about yourself. For instance, why do you need a cane?
I fell down a flight of stairs.
So it was an accident? Was it because of faulty shoes, faulty staircase, faulty railing? What?
Faulty thinking.
Faulty thinking?
Like you, I thought I had a healthy relationship, but I came home one day early and found him in bed with one of his secretaries. I was so upset that I rushed down the stairs, tripped, fell, and broke my hip.
Oh, that's terrible. But trust me, you cannot let it destroy you. I look at it this way. In different ways, we have both been injured by making poor choices. And the only way we can rectify that is to make better ones. You've given me the opportunity to work here, and I want to repay you by giving you dance lessons. You are going to love it. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger, you may see a stranger across a crowded room. How's that singing?
Great.
Oh.
I'd like one of those.
Wonderful.
Finally, a lady could die of thirst around here. Excuse me, but have you been working here long?
No, I just started, but when I heard that the great Celia Harding was here, I reviewed a number of articles written about you.
Please, don't believe everything you read.
Believe me, everything was flattering, so I know it'll be a privilege to be directing you in my new play.
A new play. I'm the leading lady, of course.
You are one of the two leading ladies.
And who is the other?
Rose Samuels.
She can't be very good. I never heard of her. Did Richard approve?
Yes, he said he loved her.
Well, in that case, I'll give it a try. But I want you to know I will walk off stage if she's a minor talent.
Agreed.
Thank you. When can I meet her?
She will be here any minute. In fact, even as I speak.
Well, I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long. I have a new dresser.
He certainly wasn't hired for his good taste.
We haven't been waiting long, Celia. Celia and I were just having a friendly chat. You do know Celia, I'm sure.
I don't believe I've had the pleasure. I'm Rose Samuels.
Celia Harding.
I dance.
I don't.
I want to toast the beginning of our adventure. I know you like martinis.
Oh, well, how nice of you to remember. Oh.
How nice it would be to remember anything for any length of time.
Well, ladies, we don't have very much time before dinner, but hopefully we can get started. Let me set the scene for you. The entire play takes place at the cocktail hour of a mercy meal. After the funeral of one of the leading ladies' husband, who is also the other leading lady's lover. Let's drink.
Cheers. So, it sounds like this is a tragedy.
Sounds more like a comedy to me.
And what is your role? I'm sure it's not the gentleman who died. You look very much alive to me.
I play the bartender. Here are your scripts.
Thank you.
Celia, you are Julia, and Rose, you are Sheila. Let's at least start the reading, and we can continue tomorrow morning.
All right. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Sheila. Did you know the deceased well?
I am Julia. No, it turned out that I didn't know him well at all. I was just married to him. How did you know him?
I was introduced to him by his brother, and he cast me in one of his shows, and we ended up having an affair. Unlike you, unfortunately, I got to know him too well. I could write a book about him.
I bet you could, and all the other women here in this funeral would be chapters of that book.
Well, I know for a fact you're right. It would be a very big book.
I could be the prologue. Once upon a casting couch.
I could be the epilogue, and they never lived happily ever after.
And we could replace the table of contents with just a posturepedic mattress.
It looks like we both need our drinks refreshed. Where is that bartender?
Sorry, I've been very busy. A lot of the ladies here seem to be drowning in their sorrows.
I'd say they're more likely to be celebrating.
Tell me, is it true what they say about bartenders?
I don't know. What do they say?
That people tell them their troubles.
Well, liquor seems to loosen people's tongues, and I suppose they feel comfortable telling me things because I'm a stranger to them and a captive audience.
Have any of the ladies here been talking about the deceased?
Oh, yes. He must have been quite a guy. I couldn't help but overhear you two talking earlier, and I can tell you from what the other ladies have told me about the deceased gentleman, whatever happened in your relationship with him was not all your fault.
Oh, well, that does make it a little easier talking with you. Julia, is it? Well, I have to admit, I was feeling guilty when I found out that you were married to him and that I may have contributed to you two breaking up.
I have to admit, after hearing you and seeing all these other women here makes me realize how, what should you call it, how ignorant I was.
Maybe not so much ignorance as denial.
You know, he never told me he was married. I have to admit, I did suspect it, but I just didn't want to know. How's that for denial?
Doesn't he have a name, the dead guy?
Yes, Richard. His name is Richard.
Richard. Of all the names possible, why did you choose Richard?
What's wrong with Richard?
Everything. Either change it or cast somebody else.
Well, I'm not happy with this play either. It's fantasy.
What's wrong with that? Most of theater is fantasy. It's a way of confronting the harsh realities of everyday life. But why are you saying that?
I agree. Honestly, do you think that Julia would be that cordial to Sheila when they meet? I know I would hate her for taking my husband away from me.
Yes, and I would feel guilty as hell for doing that, and it would be all apologies.
How would you both feel towards the guy that introduced Julia's husband to Sheila, Richard's brother?
I would shoot the bastard.
Well, I'd feel sorry for him. I couldn't have loved him. Otherwise, I never would have started an affair with Richard.
But what if his brother loved you?
Well, then I'd feel even sorrier for that sap.
I see. You know, because of your comments, I have a lot to think about. So let's stop for now, and we can continue tomorrow morning. But first, finish our drinks.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to anything.
Oh, there you are. How did the reading go? I know from the staff that both Celia and Rose were exhausted and not stable on their feet and had to go right to bed. You are sure those drinks were non-alcoholic?
Absolutely. Our time together was, how can I put it? It was informative and unfortunately affirming.
Affirming of what?
The true nature of our previous relationship.
You never told me about your relationship with Celia.
After I introduced Richard to Rose and he left her, Celia hated me. And the feeling became mutual after she took her revenge on me.
How did she do that?
She used her influence to get me blackballed on Broadway. And because of her Tony Award status, she succeeded. I couldn't get cast for anything. That's why I was broke and agreed to become Richard's servant boy.
help me out here. You must have hated Rose for ditching you, and you certainly hated Celia for ruining your career, and yet you want to work with both of them.
It took a while, but now I realize they too were a victim of Richard's first-person singular personality. For him, it was always I. Me, me, me.
You're able to forgive them. I find that pretty hard to believe.
I never said I forgave them. But right now, we need to change our focus to our dance routine.
I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak. But I seem to find the happiness I see when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek. I'm in heaven. And the cares that hung around me through the week seem to vanish like a gambler's lucky streak when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek.
That was the most fun I've had in years. Oh, goodness, thank you.
I'm so happy that you enjoyed it as much as I did. But now we must celebrate with a drink. I'll get some new glasses.
No, there's glasses right there.
These belong to Rose and Celia, so I'm going to get some fresh ones.
Oh, my. Hello, this is Bernice. How are Rose and Celia feeling? What do you mean, very weak? Get them to the hospital right away and tell the dispatcher they've been poisoned with Parkinson's medication. And call the police.